London 8 looks simple on paper. One major climb, long flat roads, a sprint-friendly finish. And that's exactly why so many riders lose this race without ever realizing where it went wrong. London 8 isn't decided at the finish, and it isn't even decided at the top of Box Hill. It's decided by how efficiently you survive the first half of the race, how you manage momentum over the climb, and whether you ride efficiently after the KOM. This recon's all about where riders think the race is happening versus where it actually is. Straight out of the pens, the race turns right and immediately begins a long false flat that includes today's finish banner. Two details matter here. First, notice the short downhill before the banner. This matters later, especially if the race comes down to a sprint. Second, the banner itself sits on a dragging 3% rise. This won't split the group, but it punishes riders who didn't warm up, surge emotionally, or try to test legs far too early. If you roll a feather here, save it. The feather is for Box Hill, not Ego Watts in the first mile. There's a long descent coming, and the group will regroup. Burning a match here gains you nothing. Red flag, if you're already chasing wheels before the descent, your race is already costing you more than it should. As the road drops and the Thames appears, the tensions start to rise. The terrain undulates just enough to keep riders nervous, but nothing here decides the race. That changes after the sharp right turn onto North Thumberland Avenue. On paper, this is a short, manageable, no big deal effort. In reality, we're looking at 30 to 35 seconds of 400 plus watts in advanced or Cat A. This is purely about staying connected, not a place to attack, and certainly not a place to panic. Your job is to do just enough to stay attached, nothing more. Immediately after, there's a left through Trafalgar Square, a downhill, and a regroup. Riders who overreact here burn matches they'll miss later. Notice the rhythm developing. Effort, regroup, effort, regroup. London 8 teaches this lesson early. These sections are not selective, they're expensive. If you're closing 1 second gaps with 10 seconds effort, you're racing emotionally. The riders who survive London 8 are the ones who let the course do the work. From Buckingham Palace through Constitution Hill to the subway, you're looking at roughly 4 miles of flat riding. Flat does not mean easy. It means draft efficiency matters most. Splitting a motivated group on flat terrain is extremely difficult. You'll see nervous surges, small gaps open, panic behind. The correct response is often to do nothing. Hold wheels, hold draft, let gravity and momentum bring the group back together. Chasing here costs more than it gains. The mall sprint reverse is emotionally loud and tactically quiet. Attacks almost never stick. Small groups rarely cooperate. The descent afterwards neutralizes effort. Unless you're a pure sprinter intentionally fatiguing climbers, this is not where you want to spend your energy. What does matter is that this is your last chance to roll a power up before Box Hill. Priority is feather, draft, arrow. Not having a feather for the steepest ramps is a disadvantage. Survivable, but costly. As the subway approaches, the race tone shifts. Free speed ends, the real race begins. Box Hill is not a climb you ride into, it's a climb you're already positioned for. If you hit the base from the back without momentum, you're already reacting. Box Hill is 3 kilometers long with a 4.4% gradient and a front-loaded difficulty. The first 800 meters are the most selective. Your entire goal? Stay with the group. Tail gunning works here. Let the group pull you, use momentum, avoid panic surges. The KOM line comes early. Watch the gradient profile and pay attention to a single dark red spike early in the climb. That's your landmark. If you reach it with the front group, the worst is behind you. If you reach it detached, the climb becomes exponentially harder. This is where a feather usage makes sense, not to attack, but to protect position. Drafting still matters here, missing it is expensive. As gradients ease, 2 switchbacks appear at roughly 3%. This is where riders unravel. Cadence changes, rhythm breaks, gaps form unintentionally. This is where you settle into sustainable power, not earlier. If you feel good, applying pressure after the second switchback can crack riders who are barely hanging on. This is also the hardest decision of the race. If you're driving this final incline with the front group, risk the bonk and ride hard. Podium position is still in the cards. If your heart rate has been pegged, form is going, and you're drifting, consider regrouping slightly. Bonking here ends your race. Missing the draft costs positions but keeps you alive. My footage shows this perfectly. Slight cadence adjustment, heart rate drops just enough, still climbing hard, still in contention. That's experience making decisions, not panic. As the gradient eases, many riders relax. This is a mistake. The easing gradient is where momentum decides who stays connected. Power-ups matter here. A feather used too late does nothing. An arrow or draft used immediately can preserve contact but leaves you short for a final sprint. If you're chasing, the 9% punch before the Foxhill descent is your real last chance to close gaps. This is where arrow or feathers can pay dividends. Once the descent begins, group momentum becomes overwhelming. Crest here without the group and the door closes. Protect your positioning or make your final attempt to close any minor gaps. The Foxhill descent is great for a super tuck if all conditions are met. Speed above 36 miles an hour, gradient steeper than 3%, power below 11 watts, and not being in the draft. Miss one and it's not a super tuck. If you're riding solo or fully exposed, Super Tuck preserves speed. It can close 1 to 5 second gaps at zero cost. In a draft or small group, Super Tucking is usually slower. Draft amplification at speed is massive. If you're chasing into the descent, remember to accelerate, clear any draft, and Super Tuck. Gravity preserves speed, it doesn't create it. The most common mistake is to Super Tuck, panic, surge, burn a match. Post-descent, the subway exit delivers a short 14% ramp. This is where riders lose the race without realizing it. If you drift back before the subway incline, you'll hit the ramp already gapped, you spike power, and you crest detached from the front riders. This is not an attack point, this is defensive positioning test. Post-subway, flat doesn't mean free. If you're working here, you're doing someone else's sprint setup. If you're hanging on, protect the wheels, refuse to pull, and stay sheltered. The race has already selected who can contest the finish. In this final mile, the race splits tactically. Option 1 is for the long-range specialists. Launch hard after the subway, commit fully. You can see how a motivated satellite rider or group can indeed hold off a large bunch of riders at this point who want to sprint. Everybody else, follow wheels and stay calm. Adam's footage shows this perfectly. Drops to position 33. Looks risky, but it actually isn't. The flat terrain plus draft equals position recovery. At around 500 meters to go, positioning matters again. The final 300 meters, launch on the uphill. Use the group momentum, don't be the first into the win. Watch Adam move through the pack, not by brute force, but by timing. Smooth beats explosive. London 8 rewards riders who race accurately, not aggressively. Early surges cost Box Hill. Poor Box Hill positioning kills the descent. Descent hesitation ruins the finale. By the time the finish arrives, the results are sometimes already decided. The only question is whether you're part of it.